Conor McGregor made the news. He hit some pads. It was his first boxing workout since the injury. You know what? It was great to see. It was great to see because Conor got just as much attention, just as many views, just as many headlines, and he didn't have to be a little rich weirdo to do it. He went and did it within the sport that made him famous in the first place, which is like the last thing that Conor's thought to do for attention. Of all the other ideas he's ever had for attention, I don't think he considered doing a workout and putting said workout out to the fans within the sport that he's in. But at any rate, at least we got here. And when you do look at Conor coming back, it's going to be a very different landscape. Conor's been out for a meaningful period of time. I mean, this leg injury was a meaningful amount of time ago. This is off the top of my head, 3 months. Closer to 4, top of my head. But it was stated by people, including Dr. Abbasi, that it could be as quick as an 8-month injury to start with. So, I mean, is Conor halfway back? If he's halfway back, we need to start looking about what is he going to come back to. I do not believe the talk of Dustin Poirier is going to go anywhere. I believe Dustin Poirier is going to be the champion of the world by then. Conor is not coming back for a world championship fight. If Dustin Poirier isn't, and even if he loses to Oliveira, is that the direction we need to go? That was the one that Conor was pushing very hard. And it would work. Anything you do with Conor, like you don't need a level of matchmaking skill. Just go get Conor. I understand that that's going to big and that's going to work, but it's a very different landscape, guys. You've got to learn, and you have to always remember what happened to Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was an excellent fighter, and she had excellent skills, and she prepared very well. Everything, she checks all the boxes. Now, eventually, you get down to who's better than who. Ronda did not need to prove to any of us that she was very good. Her matches were about, are you as good as this person? That's what it was about. We knew she was good. And Ronda was meaningful. She was a headliner. She was a media darling. All these things that you would sit and dream and strategize and hope that you could get to someday, Ronda had. Why'd she quit? Well, Ronda became a victim of her own success. Very important that you understand this, that you didn't miss this. Ronda was so cloaked in success, and her contract helped to reflect on that. And all of a sudden, her contract can work against her. Chael, how? Well, she has to be a main event. Has to be. For where she is on the card, she's got to be able to carry this thing. So whoever she's going to fight in that position has to be a fantastic fighter as well. So now they can do business and feed everybody else at the table. So now she has to fight the absolute top girls. She wasn't good enough to beat them. She could not beat the absolute top girls. But she could beat damn near everybody else. I mean, if you're top 5, you're top 7 in a sport, you stick around in the sport. That doesn't matter if you're a linebacker. That doesn't mean if you're an offensive guard. It doesn't mean if you're a fist fighter. If you're top 7 in the sport, you stick around. You're in a great spot. You got a lot of memories in front of you. You got a lot of competitions in front of you. You got a lot of paychecks in front of you. She was so good and her contract was so beautiful, it locked her into a certain position that she just could not compete at anymore. I bring that to you because Conor, it's going to matter who he fights. Very much so. Conor cannot be expected to return better than he left. That would defy every rule of basic logic that a human being has. You don't get better at something by not doing it. You don't get better at something by not practicing it. You get better at something being forced on the sidelines because you have an injury. So if we try to put Conor right back in there in a very meaningful fight against any of the top guys, we're asking too much, and we're going to make Conor a victim of his own success. Exactly what happened to Ronda is what Conor's got to have full eyes and be very aware, because Conor is not going to know anything that I just said is true. The fighter is the last one to know. The fighter is the last one by years removed to know. He'll look back after you and go, oh my goodness. It wasn't quite my same right there as I was over here. It's one of those deals. So Conor's not going to do. He's going to jump in there with anybody. It looks like he's pining for Poirier. To not do Conor Diaz is a tragedy to me. But there is other matches that you could do where all of a sudden you can make up some ground with Conor. I mean, I'll throw a name at you, Paul Felder. Paul Felder is out. Paul Felder is retired. Paul Felder is not training. If Paul Felder came back for Conor McGregor, he would lock down into an 8-week training camp, the same as Conor's going to do. It's going to be even, and they're going to go out and they're going to have a match. Not to mention the stand-up of Paul Felder versus the precision within the speed of the stand-up of Conor McGregor makes it for a very compelling matchup. And it doesn't really affect the rankings. Nothing's got anything to do with anything. Neither one of them's headed anywhere anyway. Right? In all fairness, neither one of them's going to go fight for belts or even wants to, so you could get those guys together. That makes a lot of sense, what I just said. And trying to package up Dustin Poirier Part 4 and trying to get us all to buy it and act as though this is going to be competitive, it's not. Conor's a very good fighter. He's not as good as Dustin Poirier. That's been proven, and that's been reproven. That's not a debate up for discussion. And how you remedy this and what the workaround to the conflicts that I just brought up are, that's for Conor and his team to sit down. But sometimes that team gets so lost in the numbers themselves. They get lost in the projections for the pay-per-view and the live gate and the merchandising that they don't think very clearly either. Do you want to just go have one more fight? If you want to just have one more fight, then how about the last fight was the last fight? Right? It's the mistake of every gambler everywhere. One more hand. Every alcoholic, one more drink. Everybody, one more fight. Why? It has to be for something. Sometimes it's just to prove to yourself. I'll tell you who's a similar injury as Conor McGregor, but it's Chris Weidman. And I think I know what Weidman's why is. Weidman wants to prove this to himself, that he's a fighter, that he can get up, that he can push forward, win or lose. Weidman's next objective is to get out there and show I get back on the horse when I'm bucked off. I get that. I like that. What is Conor's why? That is what I'm asking you.